Hello, my dear senior high school learners. How have you been? Are you feeling great? Good, because I'm feeling great too. Don't worry, because today I will be in charge of your another wonderful learning experience. I am your teacher Mona Lisa P. Panontongan, and I will be teaching you only here at LDN TV, your educational TV channel in Lanao del Norte. But before anything else, please read the teacher's reminders flashed on your screen. For today's lesson in oral and communication in context, you are going to identify the different types of speech context. But before anything else, before going deeper into our lesson, please be reminded of these guide questions. First guide question: what is a speech context? Second guide question: what are the different types of speech context? Third one: differentiate intrapersonal speech context from interpersonal speech context. And then the fourth one: give examples of each type of speech context. Why are these questions important? These guide questions? Well, from its word guide, it will guide you through the discussion of our lesson. So what are you waiting for? Come on, let's travel the world of speech. As I've mentioned earlier in this video, we're going to discuss about speech context. But before anything else, well, anybody from this class has an idea of what is a speech context? Okay, so I'm just kidding. You're not in the real class, so I will not be able to call your name one by one. But anyway, today, just give me 3 words to describe speech context. I know you have so many ideas about speech context. Okay, the first one is setting. Amazing! How did you get it right? Okay, when we say setting, that's very good. It refers to time, or maybe it's a place. For example of time, it's 9 a.m. in the morning. They are having their communication between mother and father. How about place? Okay, place. Okay, inside the kitchen or in the corridor of the classroom. Okay, so speech context refers to the setting where the communication takes place. It could be a time or a place, but it refers to both speech context. Now let's go to another definition of speech context, which is, can you guess? Yes, I hear you. I hear you. What is that? Okay, very good. It's understanding. Understanding? Yes, of course. The second one is understanding. Now, why do we consider understanding as part of the definition of speech context? So, understanding is between the communicators on the topic of the communication. Because if a sender of the message communicated to the receiver of the message, and then the receiver of the message cannot decode or cannot understand the message or the information relayed to him by the sender, then there is communication breakdown, right? So communication cannot take place. So understanding between the sender and the receiver is speech context. Very good. So the last word to define or to describe speech context is, I can hear you. Raise your hand, left hand or right foot. Okay, so I miss those things. I miss those things when we are inside the classroom. But anyways, the last one is, can you read? Situation. So, context in speech is the situation that brings people to a conversation or a speaking event. So it's a situation. If we have a situation wherein individuals must communicate, then that is speech context. Okay, for example, you went to a party and then you saw your crush. Okay, you saw your enemy. Of course, you will not communicate, but you have your non-verbal communication, right? Okay, the staring and the glaring and the pouting of the lips, that is still considered communication, right? Okay, so for example, in a situation like that, you saw a friend in a party, and then unexpectedly you didn't see him for a long time ago, but unexpectedly during that party you saw him. So of course you're going to communicate, right? So that is situation. Speech context is bringing you a situation in which you're going to communicate with others. So it requires you to communicate. So that is a situation. So those things are all describing speech context. So let's recap. Speech context is about, or it refers to, setting. Okay, very good. Setting. And then the second one is understanding. And then the third one is situation. Now, do you have a clear grasp already of what is speech context? Okay, very good. Now, these three terms or these three elements combine together: the setting, the understanding, and the situation, that brings us to the complete definition of speech context. Because speech context is something about when the communication takes place, and then what is the understanding of both the sender and the receiver on the top of their communication, and then the last one is the situation they are in. This time I'm going to show you two pictures. This is the first picture and this is the second picture. Now, I want you to tell me, what have you observed with these two pictures? Okay, so let's go first with this picture. So picture number one is about, can you say? Okay, so it's a girl probably because she's in toga, right? So when one wears a toga and she's on stage, we could say that this is a graduation ceremony, right? So, why is she on stage? She's delivering what? A speech. Okay, so who are the listeners? Of course, the batchmates, the visitors, the dignitaries, their neighbors, or even the animals become the audience. Okay, so she is speaking to many people. So this is the first picture. How about the second picture? Can you tell me what have you observed? The second picture shows, what is that? This is a boy. Probably he is what? He's thinking about something. What might be he thinking? Okay, probably he's thinking of his assignment. Or how can he go to the mall? Because he's a minor. So there is a deep thought here. So first picture and the second picture represents, or the two represent, very good, the major types of speech context. So which is the interpersonal speech context and the intrapersonal speech context. When can we say that the type of speech context is interpersonal or intrapersonal? How or when can we say that? Okay, so we can say that the type of speech context is intrapersonal when communication revolves around only one person. So yourself talking to yourself, but you are not a fool. That is just exercising your communication skills. You're talking with yourself. You're talking to yourself. But make it sure that you are not talking to yourself and then you're outside of your house. Because people might think the other way. They might think that you are, you're losing your mind. So better do not do that outside. Okay, just do that in a quiet place or inside your room. So probably we are all doing that because after an act, after a conversation, we try to play all those things together over and over again inside our mind. Okay, and when we play it, probably we could say that, why am I like that? No, that is not the real thing that I have to say. Or, no, that is not how to behave. Or, I should have tell her that. Okay, so there are many things that happen when we are talking with ourselves. So that is intrapersonal type of speech context. Interpersonal speech context refers to communication between and among people and establishes a personal relationship between and among them. Now in this picture, it is a communication between and among people, right? There are people there are people over there and here, and also at the back side, where the dignitaries usually sit at the back of the graduates. Okay, so that is an example of interpersonal speech context because the communication is between and among people. So unlike intrapersonal speech context, you are talking only to yourself. But in interpersonal type of speech context, you involve other people other than yourself. So you now see the difference between intrapersonal type of speech context and interpersonal type of speech context. So very good. We may then proceed to the type of interpersonal speech context. There are 4 types of interpersonal speech context. The first type of speech context is, what can you say about the picture? It's a conversation between 2 people. So probably you could say that this type of interpersonal speech context is, what do you call the dialogue? Yeah, that is okay, a dyad communication. When we say dyad from the word die, which means two, it is a communication that occurs where? Between how many people? 2 people. So earlier we talked about intrapersonal type of speech context, but today we're talking also about interpersonal speech context, and the first type of interpersonal speech context is dyadic communication, in which the communication occurs between 2 people. So intrapersonal, it's one person, all by yourself, while dyadic communication is communication between 2 people. So is it clear now? Intrapersonal, only one. Dyadic, 2 people. Okay. So can you give me an example of a dyadic communication or the dyad communication? Okay, so the example of this one is when you ask for an advice from your friend, okay, how to enroll through the online enrollment system, or you're going to ask your teacher how to enroll. Okay, so that is an example of a dyadic communication. Is it still dyadic communication if we're not talking face to face? I mean, this new normal requires us not to talk face to face. We have to send our messages through text message or FB Messenger or through the email. Yes, of course. It can. Okay, because channels of communication, if you still remember the elements of communication, channels of communication comes in many forms or come in many forms. It could be through any channel as long as the communication will take place. Okay, so communication is still possible even this COVID-19. Okay, so moving on. The next picture. Okay, what can you say about the next picture? Okay, so the people who are communicating there are, how many are they? Okay, there are many. We cannot count. Maybe we can count. Okay, so this is, you're always doing this in your classroom before. Group activities, brainstorming, something like that. Okay, so this refers to communication that involves at least what? Okay, more than 2. And when we say more than 2, to quantify it, what is more than 2? Now, of course, I thought you will say more than 2 is 1. Okay, so 3 or more. Now, to quantify this, how many people are communicating in this type of speech context? Okay, so we are talking about small group interpersonal speech context. So a small group interpersonal speech context is referring to communication that involves at least 3, to quantify it, 3 to 12 people. So beyond 12, what? What's beyond 12? Okay, I thought you were gonna say 11. Beyond 12 is 13 and up. So 13 and up is not already small group interpersonal speech context, right? Okay, very good. You're learning faster. Okay, so this is small group interpersonal speech context. Can you give me an example of a small group speech context? Oh my goodness, how I miss my OralCom class. Okay, an example of a small group speech context is like when you're having a group discussion, right? Like your teacher will always say, okay class, group yourselves into 5, into 12. Okay, so group discussions are similarly or is a small group interpersonal speech context. So are you doing that all the time? Maybe you cannot have this example anymore inside the classroom. The setting is inside the classroom because we are not going to have face-to-face interaction. But look around you, maybe in your neighborhood. Okay, you can find their small group interpersonal speech context. Public interpersonal speech context refers to communication that requires you to deliver or send the message before or in front of a group of people. And often the message can be driven by informational or persuasive purposes. Okay? So in public communication, unlike in interpersonal, in small group discussions or speech context, the channels are more exaggerated. The voice is louder and the gestures are more expansive or is more expressive because the audience is bigger. So you have this bigger audience in public interpersonal speech context. Okay, so the speaker might use additional visual channels such as slides or a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so that is what? Public interpersonal speech context. And sometimes it's the most, I think, the most threatening part of being a student when you have the public speaking class. When you go to college and you have this public speaking subject, and you will remember me, or you will have this, butterfly in your stomach. You're always feeling sick, even though you're not sick. And it's time for you to have that public speaking. So, of course, public interpersonal speech context is addressing the public or is communicating the public around 13 or more, right? So it requires you to deliver or send the message before or in front of a bigger audience, bigger than the audience that we can find in what? The small group type of speech context. So an example of a public interpersonal speech context is our example earlier when you deliver a graduation speech to your batch. Oops! Okay, so the last type of speech context, interpersonal speech context is, look at this picture. Okay, it's mass communication. So, what is the difference between public and mass communication? Aside from the spelling, of course. Okay, so mass communication refers to communication that takes place through the different forms of mass media. Okay, so example of media is television. Okay, we have radio, newspapers, magazines, books, billboards, internet, and other types of media. So do you consider this one as mass communication? Yes, of course. It's because it takes place through a video, a gadget. Okay, so this type of communication is specifically or is exactly an example of mass communication. And now we are done with the different types of interpersonal speech contexts. Congratulations for bearing with me. But thank you for being with me for the whole time. Okay, so for the recap, let's have the two major types of speech context. We have the intrapersonal speech context and interpersonal speech context. So how many types of interpersonal speech context do we have? We have 4. Very good. So we have the tired communication. The next one is small group communication. The third one is public communication, and then the last one is mass communication. Very good. So that's it for today's lesson in oral and communication in context. Now I am sure that you are ready to answer my few questions regarding our topic for this lesson. Please send your answers to my FB Messenger or through text message or via email. I'm waiting for you there. So the questions are found in your module and also found below the screen. It has been another great day of learning experience, my dear learners. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Let us always remember that nothing can stop us from learning, not even COVID-19. Watch out for more wonderful learning video lessons only here at LDN TV, where safety education is our top priority. This has been your teacher Mona Lisa saying, keep safe everyone. Sulong edukalidad sa Lanao del Norte.